Welcome, lords and ladies, to a Warhammer Tuesday episode. We're painting this lovely miniature. You know, it's pretty nice. First off, I want to thank all my YouTube members, everybody who supports the channel. You guys are awesome, as always. So I post your guys' name up here because you guys are awesome for all my YouTube members. If you're new to the channel, hit that follow button, hit that bell, hit that thumbs up, leave a comment. Follow us on Instagram at nerd.nights as well to get all the latest updates. Not a whole lot of paints, just takes a while because there's a lot going on in this miniature, but make it short and sweet. But without further ado, let's go. Alright, after building your miniature, and obviously if you've built this already, you know it's not too crazy. It's pretty easy to build, especially with the push to fits. We're going to use some aggro crag on the base of our miniature, and then we're going to spray it all in Corax White spray paint. Once your base is completely dry and you are satisfied with the paint job that you have just done on the Corax White spray paint, or did an airbrush, whatever you feel like, we're going to start with all of our metal pieces. Now there is a lot of metal and a lot of gold on this miniature, so this is the most time-consuming part. Take your time. If you make a mistake, not a big deal. We can clean it up later, as we're going to do a cleanup phase at the end of the base painting phase. So follow along and you'll get a 360 view at the end of all of these clips of the armor. Alright, now to work on the second largest portion of this miniature, which is going to be our gold areas. Now there's a lot of gold on this as well, maybe more on here than the metal armor we just did. A little bit smaller areas, so I used a small brush on this. If I would have used a bigger brush, it probably would have went by a little bit quicker, but I used a small brush just to make sure the detail was good. So turn on a book. I'm currently listening to Redwall. If you guys know that, leave me a comment. That was one of my favorite series growing up as a kid, and I'm going to reread them all. So I was listening to Redwall while doing this and enjoying the painting while listening to a fantastic book. Just absolutely amazing. Alright, working on the wings, we're going to do a little Frostheart on all of our, I guess you could say, flame areas of our wings. We're not going to go to the feather portion of our wings, but we're going to use this all the way up to the feather. If you get a little bit on the feather, it's not a big deal. Again, we're going to do a cleanup step at the end of our base paint, so be careful so you don't have extra work at the end, but take your time on it. Once you're satisfied with all of your wings, we're going to use the same Frostheart, and we're going to use this in the crevice of all of our feathers. Again, don't go overboard with it. Just a little bit in there gives it a little bit of coloring. And to darken up those flames we just did, we're going to use some Leviadon Blue. Again, be careful with this. Don't go all the way up on it. Go about halfway. And if you want to mix this with some Lamia Medium as well, you can. Or you can just take some water on your brush and then mix it together so it's not fully dry. Contrast paint takes a little while to dry, which is good. So you can take a little bit of water and kind of smooth it into the Frostheart that we had on there. For all of our undergarments, so everything that is underneath our armor, we're going to use some straight Black Legion. You can use Black Templar. You can really use any speed paint you want. You can dilute it a little bit if you want. You can keep it straight out of the pot, and I kept it straight out of the pot for this because when it dries, you can still see the white seeping through, so it gives it that natural highlight. For our two parchment areas, we have one on the front, as you can see my fat thumb getting in the way, and then there's some on the shield as well that we're going to use some Skeleton Horde. For the shield interior and the pauldrons, just the one, if you're looking at the miniature on the left-hand side, we're going to use some Talassar Blue. When you're doing the pauldron on the left-hand side, do not get the skull in the middle that is white blue at all. Just keep that white, and if you get a little bit of mess up like I did, we're going to clean it up here in the end, like I keep saying. For our leather straps around our gauntlets and hand areas, to include on the shield, we're going to use some Cygor Brown. And then to make our little blue area on the shield a little bit brighter, and on the pauldron, we're going to use some Ultramarine Blue. Now you notice on the shield that there's that white crest that's around the gold, and I got blue on it. Again, we're going to clean it up. I know. It's almost impossible to not get it on there, unless you are the best painter ever. And you just take so much time doing one little piece. I don't have that kind of time. I wish I did. If you do, please let me know. For our staff, we're going to use a little bit of Blood Angels red right there. Just be careful because we've already painted those other areas, so just take your time on that. For the leather areas on the sword, we're going to use some Snakebite Leather, and then we're going to jump right into the face. And our face is going to be a Cadian Fleshtone. Shocker, I know. What else would we use? I don't know. You can use a whole bunch of this stuff, but I keep it simple. And the last step of our base paint, we're going to do the base of the miniature at the end. We have our own section for that. We're going to use that Corax White. So again, we're going to clean up all those white areas. There is a lot, and some of these blues are very deep in there, so you're gonna have to take your time and maybe do 2 to 3 or 4 layers of that Corax White on there. Again, take your time, listen to a book, listen to some music, talk to yourself, whatever you gotta do to make it enjoyable. Alright, moving on to step 2, which is our washes. We're only doing 2 washes on here. We're going to do the Reikland Fleshshade, which is obviously on our flesh areas, which is just the face. And then we're using this all on the gold areas as well. Followed by that, we're going to use some Nulin Oil on all of our metal areas. Now, I already know it's a dark metal, but we're going to make it super dark. So we're going to brighten it up, and it's going to give a nice contrast look to our miniature. Alright, starting our step 3 after all of your washes have been dried, we're going to start with a Leadbelcher. Now you could use Ironbreaker, but we're going to use Ironbreaker here in a second to brighten up just a little bit after that. But Leadbelcher on our smooth areas only. So you don't want to get this in the crevices or on the areas that are in the recess. If you're doing the breastplate, obviously the top portion is good, but the underneath you want to keep it dark. And that's going to give it that nice shiny but dark look. To take the brightness a little bit further, we're going to take some Ironbreaker, we're going to use this on the rivets, then we're going to use this on all of our edged areas. So this does take a hot minute. But it definitely adds to the vibrancy of our miniature and makes that armor really stand out, especially if you're looking at it from a little bit farther away. That metal really shines. Alright, after we put on our gorgeous Reikland Fleshshade and doled down our metal, as you can tell, we are going to brighten it back up. And we're going to use this on all of our edged areas, and we're going to use this on all the rivets. The raised areas do not get into the recesses. In this case, less is more. We're going to focus on that shield, the edges of the shield, the face of the shield, again, the rivets and whatnot. Just take your time on it. Don't go crazy. And we're going to use one more color right after you're satisfied with your gold highlights. Alright, for all of our edged areas on our gold, we're going to use some Liberator Gold. Again, this one always, for some reason, I got to shake it for 10 minutes before I use it. Those colors just kind of sit there. Maybe I just don't use it enough. So all of our edge areas on the armor, to include the shield, the above the knee, by the face, pauldron area, stuff like that. And to brighten up our hands just a little bit in all of our gray areas. You can also use this on the Black Templar areas if you want, any of those crevices. We're going to use some Dawnstone as well. To brighten up the edges on our pauldrons and all of our blue areas, we're going to use some Hoeth Blue. And don't let that Hoeth Blue go very far. We're going to use this here again in a second. And to brighten up the face, we're going to use our basic Cadian Fleshtone again. Again, we're going to hit just the lips, the chin, the cheekbones, and that's about it. A little bit underneath the nose that is covered by that helmet. And then we're going to do a 50-50 mix of Kislev and Cadian. Same areas we're going to go over. And if you want to really pick it up just a little bit more, you can use some pure Kislev on there. Again, doesn't hurt, makes it just look a little bit better. Alright, for the eyes of our Prosecutor, we're going to take some Talassar Blue, and we're just going to put that into the eye areas. You can see, obviously, the eyes. Follow that up once that's completely dry with some Hoeth Blue where the slits of the eyes are. So we're not doing any eyeballs in that, we're just making those blue eyes with a blue glow. Super simple, pretty easy, don't overdo it. Alright, now that our main miniature is done, we're going to work on the base. We're going to use some Mechanicus Standard Gray onto the statue, I guess you could say, that broken down statue that our Prosecutor is on, followed by some Gorthor Brown on the bottom. Now this doesn't need to be this exact paint scheme, this is just what I use to make it simple, but yet elegant at the same time. Next, we're going to use some Nulin Oil on our statue that our Prosecutor is standing on, followed by some Baneblade Brown on a dry brush on our brown areas. Now, I did the Nulin Oil first so that I could start drying while we're doing the dry brush to kind of speed it up, so you're not doing all the washes at once and then you're just sitting there staring at the paint dry. Because it does take forever. It's like watching a pot of water boil. It takes forever. Next, we're going to use some Agrax Earthshade onto the brown area. Pretty simple. And once all of your washes are dry, we're going to take your dry brush, whatever you got. Old makeup brush is what I use. And we're going to use some Dawnstone on that area. Now, make sure you get a lot of that paint off. You don't want to overdo it. And just do a quick dry brush over all of our statue areas. If you get some onto the brown areas, not a big deal. You're not going to notice it. Followed by a quick dry brush of Adminastratum Grey on the same areas. Once you're satisfied with your color scheme as far as your dry brush goes and the grays mixed together, we are going to move on with a little quick sponge. Take a little piece of sponge and get some Loren Forest on there and then dab on to our statue area. Now make sure you don't have a whole bunch of that paint on there. Don't overdo it. I dab it in there and then dab it on a paper towel before I go full bore to whatever I'm sponging. To brighten up just a little bit, to give it that moss colored effect, we're going to use some Ogryn Camo on there, and just there's no rhyme or reason, just start dabbing it everywhere wherever you feel like. Again, it adds to the flavor of our miniature. Now I'm using some tuft grass from Army Painter. Obviously you can see the glue that I put on there, and then I'm just sprinkling that grass everywhere. You can put any scheme you want, doesn't really matter. You can do no grass, you can do a bunch of grass, you can do tufts, those pre-done tufts, whatever you want to do. And then just make sure you get it all off excess back into your little bowl. And then we're going to work on the base, the rim of the base. Your favorite part of painting this miniature means you're done with some Abaddon Black. If you wanted to do regular brown, XV88 or something, you can absolutely do that. Well, that's it. There you have it. Not a whole lot of colors, but there is a lot to do on it, and it does take some time. But hopefully this tutorial helped. If it did help you, please leave me a comment. Hit that follow button. Subscribe. Hit the bell button so you get alerted every time we put out a video. Tuesdays are our Warhammer videos, and then Fridays are our other board game videos. So thank you for watching. Thank you for all my YouTube members. Please hit that subscribe button. Drop me a follow, like, whatever you got to do. And I'll see you on the next one. All right, paint on.